listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. It's about time that we invest more in our financial literacy and work towards building generational wealth. If you think you're ready to do the same, then you've come to the right place. Alex, Marlon, y'all ready? Let's get this bread.
What's good, everybody? It's Alex Camuño here. We are back with episode 109 of the Money Monopolizers podcast, and I'm here with my co-host, Marlon Walls. Marlon, welcome to my city. How are you doing today?
I'm glad you claimed this city as yours, though. I know how you be talking about it. I know you really liked it, though. So but this is cool, though. I really enjoyed my drive out here. I woke up at like 5:45 this morning, but it was all well worth it, though, because I know we about to have a great day overall with the episodes we're finna record. So yeah, I'm doing great overall right now. I'm really excited for our topic for today. But just over the past, I guess, couple weeks since we were last recorded, spent a lot of time reflecting on like where the business was and everything. I know we'll get into business updates, but I think that this past couple weeks have been a lot of reflection moments, and that's really led to what I want to talk about today.
Reflection on business? Yeah,
reflection on business and with personal life too, to be honest. Yeah. So I think, I guess, matter of fact, when we're recording this is like we're finishing up the October month. So
yes, today is October 30th.
Right, so we're finishing up October right now. And it reminded me that this is my first full month as a full-time entrepreneur.
This is indeed true, yeah.
So this is pretty much a 30-day mark, and I've learned a lot over those 30 days. And I always tell people, like when it's time to either take a new step into like the unknown, like going into like a new venture, whether you're going into like moving out of your hometown and stuff like that, you're going to learn so much just from that growth, from doing something new, operating how you haven't done before. You're going to inevitably learn a lot more. Like you're going to learn about yourself, you're going to learn about the new environment and how you need to pace your environment in that new area in order to like adapt and thrive. So that's what this month has been a lot for me lately. So I'm very, very proud of like everything that I've learned throughout this month.
That's good, man. I think there's a lot of value in that, and we'll get into that.
For sure.
So, I'm excited. I'm happy to be recording an episode at my home base now. I didn't have to travel.
For sure.
So it's nice to,
wake up at 9 and get right to the podcast.
Yeah, because usually, this is now the third different city that we've recorded an episode in.
Yeah, we just travelers at this point.
Usually, we before a lot of the in-person, we've been doing it about 2 months now. A lot of the in-person episodes have been in Houston, majority of them. And then the last 3 were in Dallas. Now we're going to pump out a few out here, and we just going to keep rotating pretty much. And then eventually, get to a point where we'll be traveling all over.
Yeah, for sure.
Interviewing people all over. But right now, you do what you can. So I'm happy. I'm excited to, we got a nice setup today. I think every episode we got a different setup, every few episodes. So people, again, if you listen to this, check us out on YouTube. We posting episodes on there every week as well. And, it's great quality production that we always have. No matter where we are, where we go, we always make sure we keep the quality high, which is, it's just a business principle, right? Regardless of what happens, whatever, circumstances, you can control, the production quality. Thanks. So that's super important. But if you are listening, then please do us a favor and
I was just leave that same thing.
A rating and review on Apple Podcasts, on iTunes. If you don't have an iPhone, leave a rating and review on iTunes. If you have an iPhone, which like over 95% of people that listen to us listen through Apple Podcasts. So more than likely, if you're hearing this, you can leave a review on Apple Podcasts. I'm telling you, man, we don't ask for these reviews only for vanity. That's part of the reason.
That's just part of it.
That's part of it, but it's not the whole reason. They're very important. It's critical to the growth. We're now a ranked podcast. We fluctuate between anywhere in the hundreds. Yeah, sure. So we kind of fluctuate all the time, just depending on the week or whatever, how many listeners that week. But we've been growing. We're getting we've almost tripled our listenership over the past few weeks, just especially since we started doing it in person.
Yeah,
the growth has been crazy. So leave a rating review. It's very important.
Now, I want to comment on the same thing, though, because it's one thing for us to say that we have a good podcast, but when other people say the same thing and other people are like leaving raving testimonials about how we've changed their life, that's what's going to bring other people on board.
Yeah.
So when somebody sees that y'all have been impacted, they're going to want to join in and see like, oh, that person has been impacted like that. What would they do for me if I listen to the podcast? So it's how you continue to change the whole overall culture by continuously spreading what something has done for you. So testimonials do way better than anything that we can ever say. Like we can say we have a great podcast, but that doesn't, it's not really dictated by what we say, but what everybody else says about it.
Right. So yeah, 50% vanity, 50% for the testimonials.
But yeah, there were some great testimonials, especially from like one of our longtime listeners. They left a rating on the podcast, and I was very touched by it.
Shout out Tez.
Yeah, Tez Manning for sure. Because man, it was very, very touching to read that, because I know he's been rocking with us since day one.
Oh yeah, Tez been rocking with us since literally even before we launched. Exactly. Well, once we launched. So shout out to you, Tez. Shout out to Amber too.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I think we got a great episode for y'all today, I think. But as we do every week, before we get into that, we got to get into our business updates.
It's time. I guess I got my swagger back. Keep them posted.
Marlon, it's October now, full month as an entrepreneur, running a business full time, no longer trying to run, your slave 9 to 5 and then the business outside of the 5 to 9. How have things been, I guess, because last time we recorded, caveat, disclaimer, it's been a few weeks, couple weeks. So, things should be looking different. How do things look so far for you?
So, like I said in the very beginning, I've had a lot of reflection time. And the reason I say that is definitely leading to the topic of conversation. I'm going to keep it brief right now. But this month has been like a learning month more than anything else, learning how to operate as a full-time business owner. Because before it was 9 to 5, and you had a lot of I could fall back a lot onto like the income from the 9 to 5, but now you have to make sure that you are consistently doing income producing activity in the business in order to keep it thriving and keep it bringing you an income per month to pay for your living expenses. So for this past month, like I told you before, we were restructuring anyway, which is kind of why we took that dip. So we produced $10,000 this month in revenue. And I know like last month was definitely higher than that, but that's why I really want to get into our topic of conversation for today, because I know for November, December, we're about to go full speed ahead. Yeah. And I really want to get into the whole everything. So, but that's where we are right now for this month of October. And I know it's going to look a lot better. And I also want to say I'm very blessed to even be able to say that a bad month in business was $10,000 a month. Yeah. So I just know what's possible and what's right around the corner with what we're going to talk about today.
It's always on perspective, because if you tell, early on, starting off, a bad month, 10,000. But if you've been rocking a few months, years, whatever the case may be, then if you tell Amazon that y'all only made $10,000 this month,
they say, "Yep, we out of business." Huh?
I think they're gonna be filing bankruptcy soon. So, it's always in perspective. But yeah, I think that's good, because the thing is, it's like, you're always focused on going. We talked about this last time, but sometimes you do have to kind of take a step back, and that might mean you take a revenue hit temporarily, so that you can kind of restructure things moving forward. It's kind of like, I'm trying to think of an analogy for that, because there's a lot of times where that happens in life. It's even almost like working out to a degree, because it's like, in order to see growth and for muscles to grow, for that hypertrophy to actually occur, that you have to break them down, right? And so it's in the same sense similar to that, where it's like, I gotta break things down in my business to see actually where I can fix things, where we can improve on things, what we actually need to be doing in order to see that growth. Exactly. So that's huge. But that's good. I think that's good.
How about you?
No, I think October was a great month for me personally in business. I don't know, I'm kind of just in this place right now where well, I guess I'll say this first. So I know at the beginning, I've said it because we recorded a lot of the last few episodes on this same weekend, so it was kind of tough to.
That's what I've been thinking about.
Do the segment sometimes, because it's almost like it's
the same thing.
Same thing last episode, but we try to provide a different perspective, even if it's the same thing. So one thing I was hounding on big time, and this is again going to lead into our topic today as well, but the goal for the business, for my business, was to do 50,000 in October, and I was able to do that. and surpassed that. So I did 53,000 in October, and it was dope. It was good to do that, and I think a lot of things attributed to that, which we may get into in the episode. But a lot of that was just due to the fact that I really got my systems down.
Exactly.
And my systems now are they're almost on autopilot. And now they're at a point, because I've spent so much time refining them over and over and over and over and over, that like there's very few things that could happen now in the business that I haven't already systematized and accounted for. So now anytime something happens, anytime a Karen gets upset at me, anytime, you know, someone doesn't do something right, anytime a customer's mad, anytime, you know, we miss an appointment, anytime anything happens, there's a system, there's a SOP in place to make sure that thing gets fixed. Because the thing about service businesses is that your reputation means a lot. So what I've learned is that it's not, because one thing, and this is huge too, as you grow in business, you get more problems. And that's good. You should want more problems, because you should want, I won't even say that, you should want new problems.
Facts.
Because new problems means new growth and new opportunities, and you're going to new places. If you still got the same, like if I still got the same problems, if you still got the same problems you had last year, that's not a good thing. You should have new problems every single year, because those new problems, that means now you've done things to be in a new position, and number two, now you learn how to solve those new problems, and those new problems lead to new solutions that are going to take you to the next level. So what I learned is, after, you know, once you get to a point where your business is doing 50,000 a month, we're doing over 250 bookings a month now. So I think 200, 250, somewhere around there. I'm pretty sure it's over 250. And now at that's a pretty large volume of bookings. So you got to imagine that's over 100 different customers, because a lot of those could be recurring. So that's over 100 different customers, and a lot of those are new customers. Maybe I think 60 to 70% of my customers are new customers every month, or at least this month. And so with that means it's new people they've never seen your business. They know nothing about you. They don't know how you do things. So they have a certain expectation already. And now with that comes new people that are going to be problematic, because it's like if you imagine a business like Amazon or any big business, they get millions of customers a day, new customers. You have to imagine, if you get millions of customers, you're going to get hundreds of thousands of issues. So how do you solve those issues? Amazon doesn't scramble every time they get issues.
That's good.
They get issues they've already seen, because now because they've seen them, they've put systems in place to solve those issues. So now anytime an issue comes up, we refer to the SOP. It's not something we're scrambling to figure out. So I say all that to say, it's like this month, I got so many new problems that I didn't know how to solve at the beginning of the month. But I learned so many things, just in the sense of like, some problems are more urgent than other problems, in the sense of like, especially in my particular business, where it's like, like I said, your reputation means a lot in a service-based business, because people are trusting you essentially to perform a service for them. So in order to uphold your reputation, customer service is very important. And we'll talk more so about that next episode as well. But it's very important in the sense of like, you know, being able to, I hate to keep using systems, but that's exactly what it is. Being able to, you know, anytime you get a complaint or anytime you get an issue, it's like, we know exactly what we need to be doing. So my ops manager, she knows exactly what to do. I know exactly what to do. You do it the same way every single time. And so, I don't know, that's kind of where I'm at now with the business. Everything has been, it's been great, but it's been a whole lot of like, more money, more problems is real. Yeah.
I love this entire thing, just a whole thing you just went through, because what you'll see is that, for one, documenting the process is critical, because when you experience that new problem for the first time, it's going to be like, this problem is bigger than anything you've seen before. So now it's like, I need to figure out a way to overcome a big obstacle. I thought about it in the most simplest case. Think about when you're in math class and you get the multiplication tables in third grade for the first time. You're like, oh shoot, 9 times 9? I don't know, man. Maybe like 87. I don't know. You just like, it's a hard problem at first, but now you've tackled it. Now you've learned it, And as you move up the grades, now when you see 9 times 9 inside of an equation, it's just second nature to you. And now you're trying to tackle the new problem with algebra, or something like that, or now you're trying to get into pre-calculus.
Hold on, say the answer.
Oh, you checking me? 81, bro. I ain't tripping. But yeah, point of that is saying that problem that used to be a big problem for you is now no longer a problem. So now you can actually. So you have a whole system and process to solve that particular issue, and now even if you see that problem encompassed within another bigger problem, you at least know how to tackle that, and it's to start knocking down the overall problem.
Mm-hmm.
And because sometimes you may run into a new problem in business that resembles something else like that you've already solved before, but it may be a little bit bigger. I can go into a whole bunch of different examples, but and overall though is that the point of it, you need to once you overcome a problem, you document it. Yeah. Because once you have it documented, now that's no longer going to be an issue for you. Now you'll be able to solve it in the future when it comes up. And now, like you said, if you're trying to solve if you're taking the same amount of effort to solve today's problems, and if there's like last year's problems as well, if it's the same problem between this year and last year, you haven't done something right. You haven't been documenting how to solve this problem. And that's why every time it comes up, it's an issue for you.
You're right. And by the way, this is what entrepreneurship is. It's solving problems. Like, people think entrepreneurship is. It's about money. I mean, yeah, you get paid for solving problems, but the foundation and the ultimate premise of it is to solve people's problems. And we say it all the time: the more efficiently you solve those problems, the more volume you can solve those problems at. Meaning, how many people can we solve this problem for? And the bigger the problem is, the more you will earn. That's all it is. And so now you can. That's how you know you can scale your business. Or start a new business, because we were having this conversation earlier. It's like, if you see a problem and you know a way to solve it, other people probably have that problem. And so my job as the entrepreneur is now because I know for me, I've already thought about these people's problems longer than they have. That is literally what entrepreneurship is. So I've been thinking about their problem for many, many years. Mm-hmm. I've put systems in place to solve that problem many times over. So now when they have that problem, they're not scrambling trying to find a solution. I already have a solution. I just got to get in front of them. Yep. To show them that I have the solution. That's why I always think sales is something which just like, sales shouldn't be anything where it's like I'm out here, struggling to find sales. It's like, I just need to find the people that have this problem that I have the solution for and get in front of those people. That's what sales is. And there's different ways to do that through marketing and different channels like that. So, break it down, look at it like that, and it's really pretty simple.
You ain't got to convince somebody that they have a problem that they want solved.
Right.
So basically, like, if somebody has a problem, you have a solution, you meet that person, you don't have to convince them to buy your product. They're going to want your product. That somebody has a dirty house, you don't have to convince them that they want their house clean.
Yeah, they already do.
When they see that you have their solution to their problem, they're going to buy from you regardless. That's the basis of entrepreneurship.
And it goes back to the fact too, like I said, I already know when you're going to have this problem. Exactly. I already know that right after Thanksgiving Day.
Come on, man.
That your house is going to be dirty. I already know right before Christmas that you're going to want to impress, and you're going to want, your house to be clean for the folks that's coming over. I already know that, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put sales and specials in place to be able to make sure that I'm the one solving your problem at that time, right? And the thing is too, it's like big companies do this at large scale. Like a lot of big companies, like they don't think about the problems that are like immediate. They're thinking about the problems long ahead. Like, Jeff Bezos is someone I've been studying a lot of recently, just over the past few weeks, and Amazon, and specifically just because I love how their business model is, and it's just hearing him speak about how he talks about Amazon. It's like people will literally tell him like, "Hey, congratulations on a good quarter." And he's like saying thank you, but in his head he's saying like, "I mean, we planned this quarter 3 years ago. I'm already thinking about 2024." 2025, and that's the mentality I'm trying to be into it with my business as well. So that's what I've been doing over the past month as well, is like deciding how I want things to look in 2022, 2023, and 2024 for the next 3 years, and just kind of figuring out what direction I want things to go to. Because if you're doing it when, like, 2022, I started planning that a few months in September when I was in Spain. I started working on that, so that's already pretty much set up. In fact, I'm November, I'm starting to implement some of the things as well, because it's like I'm not waiting till January. It's no point in waiting.
Come on.
We gonna just come out right in November, start implementing the new things that I got, and go from there. So yeah, man, that's been business for me though. This month.
We could spend a whole segment on just the business updates, but no, we definitely got to keep moving. But there's a lot more I want to talk about all that too. But
yeah, I mean,
we're gonna keep going. You know how we are.
Yeah, I mean, we
gonna have an hour and 45-minute episode, and it's supposed to be like an hour 15 at most.
Hey, it is what it is. I mean, it's always so much value that we can bring in that, and we'll try to. That's why we do these segments again.
For sure, that was really good, man.
Yeah, so. Yeah, let's get into our topic for today. I think we got a good one for y'all.
I guess I'll introduce it because this is something that was heavy on me this morning. So for the past couple of weeks, I think I've heard a total of about 3 times about like what is your overall like revenue goal for the month, and or not even your revenue, not necessarily revenue goal, but like how much you're looking to make this month. And I've understood more and more that's something that that's like the base thing that you have to do as an entrepreneur. Establish what is your goal for this month, because there's a difference between how you obtain a goal. Some people set what's called activity goals. Somebody will look into the rental car business and they will say, I want to get 10 cars this year, or I want to get 2 cars this month, and they will go get those 2 cars and get them listed, and then that'll be it. And so now whatever revenue comes in, that's it.
Yeah. And
they're not too much concerned about it because they've accomplished the activity goal of purchasing vehicles. So, but now you have to take it a step further. As a full-time entrepreneur, there's a difference between an activity goal and a revenue goal. The revenue goal would dictate your activity, because if your revenue goal is to, I'm gonna say there's two types of a monetary goal. So there's a revenue and then there's a net profit goal. So even though you bring in $20,000, let's take you for instance as a perfect example. Your cleaning business, you said did $53,000 this month, but that's the revenue. That's not necessarily your personal take-home pay. And there's a big difference between those two, and it's all based on percentages. Like how much do you pay yourself? We can get into that some other time, but we have an owner's comp account. Owner's compensation, meaning how much are you paying to yourself per check, like per month. Out of your revenue, how much do you pay yourself? So if your owner's comp says it's like 20% of your overall revenue, so if you made $10,000 this month, that means you paid yourself $2,000. And I don't want anybody to miss that. So 20% of $10,000 is $2,000. So that means this how much I was able to live off of for this particular month. So if I establish the net profit goal, how much I want to take home and pay for my living expenses, that's going to tell me how much revenue I need to produce. And once I know how much revenue I need to produce, now I know how many cars do I need in my business, how many houses do I need to clean, how many products do I need to sell in my business to attain that revenue goal, so I can live off the net profit income for my day-to-day living.
Yeah.
That is the key difference. So I was thinking about that big time because I was not setting that. I wasn't setting a revenue goal. I was setting activity goals. And you would have a false sense of security by setting an activity goal versus a revenue goal. Because like I said, if I said that my goal was just to obtain 10 rental cars, and I did that, I'm gonna consider myself accomplished. But that's step one, because now you have to look at it and say, oh, I may not be making enough money off just that alone. Because when you start looking into the numbers and start seeing your net profit versus your revenue, or no, versus just your activity, then you'll start seeing, okay, that actually what I want in my mind versus what I'm producing is not the same. And that's why it's so important for you to first establish what is your current, like what is your actual goal to like live off of, like how much do you want to make from your business, because that's what the business is all about at the end of the day. You want it to provide for your lifestyle. It can't provide for your lifestyle if you're not setting a goal for it to produce enough money to pay for your lifestyle.
Right.
So that's kind of where I want to start the conversation. And so now I want to start diving into like why do people set one goal versus the other. But
well, let me
give your take on everything I just said.
Because at first of this, I thought I was going to be coming in and contrarian to you originally when we talked about it. Mm-hmm. I thought you were going to say originally that you were going to be in favor of the activity goals. And so the reason I say that is allow me to play devil's advocate. if let's say, because obviously there's times when I think well, this is just in the context of business, obviously.
Yeah,
correct?
this is different for business.
Okay. Because obviously, you know, when you're talking, you know, about certain things like, I don't know, like working out, sometimes for some people it might be better just to do like a activity goal for something like that. Like instead of I want to lose 50 pounds, it's like I need to go to the gym 5 days a week.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's so just to clarify, it's just strictly for business, right?
I think this is strictly for business because your business revenue is going to dictate your activity inevitably, because it'll tell you, it's a good measure of how much activity you need to do in order to produce that result.
Yeah. So for me, and I mean intuitively, innately, I think this is how I've always set my stuff up.
Yes.
Because for me, I always think about it from the sense of like, I want to live a certain way. And so I remember there was one time, actually, I showed you my spreadsheet for how I set everything up. And I showed you how I manipulated things. And I showed you how I would change my owner's comp. Instead of changing the actual percentage, I would change the number. Like the physical number. I said, I need to make this amount this month. And that's going to tell me what percentage I need to be at, which in turn will tell me how much revenue needs to come in.
Exactly.
And so that's usually how my goals get set. So when I set the goal for financial freedom, I had it set at, you know, I had it set to replace my job income at that number per month. And then that was just based on, and so it gave me, from that, it gave me a certain number I need to make in a business to get that. We did that September. Cool. And then from there, now I set it to, now I'm increasing it based off of how much more money do I want to make. Cool. So I know next year, yo, I'm trying to live a certain life, and over the next couple, you know, we talked about this in episode 69, and all this would come full circle.
Or we just be splitting them out like 69.
I don't even think, I just be thinking, that was when we talked about goal getter.
Yeah.
And we talked about how we set goals, and we talked about how goals today are based off the 5-year vision. Yeah. So all my goals are based off how I want my life to look in 2026. And so one of my biggest goals was I needed to be making $50,000 a month, living in Brooklyn, Miami, driving a G63. That was the goal for that was my vision for it was in all aspects, but financially that's how I look for business and finances by 2026. We'll definitely get there a lot sooner. But that was the vision at that time, because I know different things now than I knew back in January. So, or when we released that episode. So now, based off of that, I can set how much do I want my business to generate based off of me making this amount of money. So in order to make $50,000 a month profit to me, by the way, this is not profit to the business.
Exactly.
This is what I'm paying myself from the profit from the business that the business makes from the revenue.
Come on.
So you can imagine, for me to make $50,000 in a month, the business got to be making, you know, well over 6 figures a month, right? And this is why it's so important, because the thing about this is, like, now you're designing your life. You're designing everything around you as opposed to you fitting into everything else. So when I set the goal to make $50,000 a month in my business, everything has to fit in that plan.
Yep.
It's not me saying my business needs to make $500,000 a month and then boom, I need to fit everything else. Because the thing is, I look at it like this too. If I said my business needs to make $500,000 a month, but I'm not necessarily looking at how much I'm gonna make. Now, okay, cool. Let's say my business makes the $500,000, but because I wasn't looking at how much I needed to spend, I was spending so much in operating expenses. I was spending so much in marketing. I was spending so much in payroll, and now I might only be making $10,000 a month from that $500,000. That is, like, to me, a failure. Yeah, because it's like the business. At the end of the day, people start businesses because there's multiple reasons. I mean, you want to provide value to people, you want to do that, but again, you want to provide yourself a certain lifestyle. I mean, let's keep it 100 here. We start businesses so that we can provide a certain lifestyle for ourselves. We don't start businesses just so we can have fun and start, like, you might as well stay at your job. So it's very important that we set things up this way to have metrics that are more pertaining towards your lifestyle, and also the profit for the business, not necessarily just, you know, I need to do this amount of activity. Who cares what activity you do?
Exactly.
Yo, because my whole thing is, look, you can say like, yo, if let's just say this hypothetically, I can say we want to clean 1,000 houses this month, but at the same time, if those 1,000 houses isn't producing the type of revenue on average, because I have all my KPIs broken down as to what each house needs to generate on average in order for me to hit my metrics. So it's kind of like why would I do that when alternative? What if I could get 5 contracts, commercial contracts, that paid me that same or if not more efficiently? So it's like, it doesn't matter the activity, it just matters about the revenue you're getting from the activity. So.
Yep. And this whole thing, it's not something that I didn't know before, but I got a whole new level of clarity on it. That's why I really want to re-emphasize it from really, if not anything else. I would have to re-emphasize how important this is, because people will set activity goals. And I had actually multiple reasons. You hit on one when you're talking about like people don't want to, like people feel like setting a revenue goal makes it about the money. In business, your business is not going to operate without money. You are starting a business because you don't want to work for somebody else, and you want to be able to provide for yourself. In order to provide for yourself, you have to be able to generate enough revenue in your business. So you do need to have the money.
Yeah.
So therefore,
bro, if someone says it's not about money, then just stop listening now.
You can have the impact through your business, but at the base foundation, you have to produce money for your business to continue the business. Like you said earlier with Amazon, if they not producing billions of dollars and they produce 10,000 a month, they're out of business. We have to make money. That's first and foremost. So that kind of led me into like the different reasons that people will set activity goals in general. Because I started thinking about it and I was like, why is this a thing? Because I know this is not just myself. This was a lot of people that do it like this versus setting revenue goals. And one thing I thought about 4 different reasons. It's not so first of all, it's not so much that people set activity goals, but they actually avoid setting revenue goals. And I think there's like a few reasons behind it. First of all, they don't know what number to pick. I said they don't know what number to pick because of the fact that if you ask somebody how much do you want to make in revenue for this month, if they're not thinking along the lines of, okay, well, I have my personal owner's comp goal that I want to make for the month. I have my personal pay that I want to make for the month, and I'm gonna backtrack that to get to my revenue goal. If people don't have that, they're gonna throw out a random number. I just want to make 10,000 this month. I want to make 20,000 this month. It has no backing for it. So they're not going to set a revenue goal because they're not going to be driven to get it unless they just want a number. It has no why or purpose behind it. So that's number one. Number two is that they don't want to face reality. When I say that, I'm talking about the fact that where they currently are based on what they've been doing with activity is most likely not going to resemble where they actually want to be.
Yeah.
If they set a revenue goal. So the difference between what your like you've been setting activity goals this far, and you have produced a certain amount of money, and you can consider yourself successful if you have sold a certain amount of products for the month. Like, because you've hit your personal goals, like you're like, okay, I'm accomplished. But when you set a revenue goal, your revenue goal is going to be very objective. It doesn't care how many products you sold. It's going to tell you how many you need to sell in order to achieve what you actually want, which is to pay for this certain lifestyle that you desire.
Exactly.
So that's number two. They don't want to face reality. Number three, you already hit about that. They don't want to be seen as it being all about the money, because like people just have a stigma that says when I'm in business, I don't want people to think that I'm about money. I want people to believe that I am about serving. You can be about both, but understand if you don't make no money, you can't serve nobody.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to make the money so you can serve more people.
Bro, if your goal is serving, go start a nonprofit. You can do a lot of that.
Yep. And then the last one, I think this is a very, very big one. They don't want the pressure of meeting a revenue goal.
That's a fact.
Because that when you see that number, like if they see 50,000, they're gonna say, okay, my goals are too high. I need to reduce my goals because it'll be more realistic for me to hit a lower goal, because I'm daunted by the activity level that's going to be required of me in order to get there. So that's why people don't set revenue goals. And I think those things, if you can overcome those and just pursue a revenue goal, because that's really what's going to change the game for a business. If you're not setting activity goals versus setting revenue goals, that is what's going to help you start thriving in the business. So like I said, that's the clarity that I got this morning on the drive up here. So I said I'm gonna start driving here every week. I needed more time for myself, but I know that particular that one thing for me, it's going to change the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And I firmly believe that, because now, whether I am selling products or services, or whether I'm in a rental car business, everything is going to be calculated based on the revenue that I desire, and that's what's going to set everything else. And just me knowing that every day-to-day activity is now calculated. Now you can measure every single day. Am I on track to hitting my goal for this month based on the activity that I did this week, based on activity I did today?
Yeah.
You can track that. And like I said, I have full-on clarity on that now, as opposed to before. That's why I want to share that with anybody else who is listening.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of people do that unintentionally, but now I wanted to bring to light the importance of setting a revenue goal versus the activity goal.
Yeah, I think that's real. And one thing you hit on too is, by the way, your thing is the mic was covering you on the picture. But the thing about this is that I think with a lot of one thing you talked about was the pressure. And I think one thing about a lot of people is most people do not set big enough goals. Most people don't set big enough targets in general, because most people operate on a sense of, there's so many reasons for this. Like I couldn't point to just one reason, but I think most people they don't believe that they can produce the amount of action and activity required to get to that number. So if you said, because one thing for me is like, I could tell someone that, okay, my business made $50,000, and they will think about that and say, oh my God, that must have took massive amounts of work. They're just their mind just starts going to how much work it probably took. And I'm not gonna understate it and act like it doesn't take work. But the thing about it is, the thing about business is that most of the work is done a lot early on, like in the sense of like, a lot of the things that you're gonna do in business are gonna scale a lot faster than you can work. So in the sense where small things that I set, systems and SOPs that I put up, I'm gonna have to beat this horse, I guess, today. But systems and SOPs that I had in place from day one of the business are producing that result today, because those systems and those activities can work a lot harder than me. Mm-hmm. So to do 50,000, now let's even look at 500,000, because that is a goal that I have set for the business to get to at a certain point coming up very soon. 500,000 in a month. But in order to get to that point, there isn't necessarily much more I can do in terms of my physical output that's gonna get the business there. At this point, it has to be about a lot of the other things you have set up, and a lot of the other things, small tweaks and things that you can now do to get it to that point a little more efficiently, and also just doing things at a bigger scale. So it's not necessarily that I'm going to, have to, work so much harder to get that. It's just more so now that I'm going to have to take what I've done and multiply it and scale it now. And so with a lot of people, they hear about 50,000 or 100,000, and they think it's like, because they're thinking about it linearly. You don't think of business linearly. Things aren't linear. If things were linear, Amazon would not even be making Amazon would still be making $100,000, $1 million a month, right? As opposed to billions of dollars per quarter or per month. So it's very, you got to really think of it like that. You can't think of it so black and white. And early on, like to get to $5,000 or to get to $10,000, it might take a lot of effort, because now a lot of those things you're doing are brand new. They're brand new activities, and you're gonna have brand new problems, and you're gonna have brand new things that you have to solve in order to reach that point. But you have to get through that point. Like it's kind of like you got to look at. I mean, if you look at a graph, and you draw it out, it's gonna be very flat, and then it's just gonna shoot up.
Yep.
If you are doing the right activities. This is usually, but this doesn't happen for most people. And there's just a lot of it goes back to what we talked about with Byron. A lot of people are hustlepreneurs, because they just think whatever they output or whatever they input is going to be their output. But you can't, like, your input is going to be limited at some point. So you have to do that. And so that's one thing I want to talk about. And then the other fact too is just like, I think when you set bigger goals, I don't know, I think it affects, you have to be in a certain mindset though to be able to do this, because it can, for a lot of people, they just don't believe in themselves.
Yep.
They really just don't even believe that they can hit it. And it's like they don't even envision them. And I get it. It could be tough. Like me saying like, yeah, I mean, at this point I could do it, but like just thinking of maybe a year or two ago, yes, my business will make $50,000 by the time I'm 25. $50,000 in a month. I wasn't thinking of it because I didn't necessarily have the acumen, and I didn't have the mindset at that point to be able to envision myself doing that. But now that I have the mindset and the acumen and also the know-how as to how that actually looks, because I've done it, I can envision my business making $50 million in a month.
Man.
And I can still see it. The only difference is that it's just going to be a lot more systems in place. Because, again, I'll have encountered new problems. And the thing is, once you encounter new problems, one of two things will happen. You're going to fold and regress, or you're going to move forward. Because the thing about business doesn't stay stagnant. There's no business where you're going to make, it's going to stay the same month in and month out. It just doesn't happen. You're either going up or you're going down.
Facts.
That's just how business is. Like, you're either losing because someone figured it out and now someone is stealing market share and now someone is climbing. And if they're climbing, you have to be losing to some degree. It's not to say like if someone else eats, you don't, but like to some degree, if someone else is climbing, you're not just staying there. Because now the reason they're climbing is because people are going to them. Mm-hmm. And if people are going to them, it's because they're doing something better than you. And so people that are with you are going to go to them too. So I don't know. My brain is just running.
Oh yeah, that was me all morning. Trust me.
Yeah, and it's just like it's something where you have to be in a certain mindset first to be able to think that big about your business.
I think that mindset comes through just the experience of going through it though, because I don't, like you said earlier, even last year you may not have been able to say with confidence by age 25 I will be making $50,000 a month for my business. Yeah, you can have the dream, but right now it's still distant in a ways off because you don't know what it takes to get there, because you innately you're going to think linearly because you know that right now everything in order for me to produce a result I have to do this much work. But it takes experiencing, establishing the systems and the processes for you to understand that as you can start scaling, it becomes exponential because it requires less work from you because everything has been systematized now. How many times do you have to build a website now that you got your first one built?
All the heart. I mean, at this point, it's just about expanding, and I have someone already working on that now. Right.
So you had to build. I don't know if you built it yourself or you had to hire somebody to build it.
Originally, I built it, but now anytime I expand, I have someone I pay on a retainer.
So that's a system, huh?
Correct.
So you don't have to build a website every time when you get a new city?
Nah.
Really?
Well, someone does. I don't.
Right. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to do the physical. That's my whole point. Yeah. You don't have to do the physical work no more once you get to a certain level, because now systems are people. People are systems in this case.
That's what businesses is leverage.
So automation systems and people are all systems within your business that help you scale the business exponentially. And the reason that people can't think exponentially is because they don't ever get to that point where they are systematizing their business, like we talked about with Byron. Everybody's always that hustlepreneur that's doing all of the manual labor and they're never thinking, how can I scale this and how can I systematize these processes so that when problems come up, there's a system in place for it. That's why we keep preaching the systems piece, like you say we're beating a dead horse. Keep beating it, because that is literally the game changer between that hustlepreneur versus the entrepreneur that is scaling their business to the point where they don't have to do any more work in their business. Right. And the best thing that you're going to start experiencing is that it was hard to make money before, but once you get to a certain level, it's going to be hard to not make money because the systems are in place and everybody's working with or without you. Yeah. You can go to Spain and you can have money coming in. You can go to Puerto Rico and have money coming in. It's hard for you to stop making money at a certain level once all the systems are in place.
100. And that just goes back to why people need to set bigger goals. Mm-hmm. Because I think everyone should, whatever goal you have, you need a 10x it. Like 10x it. Like if you're, and this is in every aspect of life, everyone should 10x their goals. Like if your goal is to lose, 5 pounds, make it the goal is to lose 50 pounds, right? And the thing about that is that it's going to force you to actually set up systems and to do things differently than how you were originally thinking of it. Because if I say, my goal is to just lose 5 pounds, and I'm just using this because it's very easy to think about. My goal is to lose 5 pounds, then now all my activity is going to be, I'm going to only be thinking of, like my activity is all going to be now catered towards a very small goal. So now instead of thinking about it in the sense, like again, back to the weight loss, if my goal is to lose 5 pounds, now I'm only thinking like, okay, I can go to the gym this day and then I can come home and I can still eat this, or I can still do this because I only need to lose 5 pounds. But if I'm thinking I need to lose 50 pounds, I'm going to know I need to go to the gym and I can't come home and I can't just do this, right? And I know I need to do this consistently. Intuitively, that's how it should be. Will a lot of people think of it like that? Probably not. But that's how it should be, right? And so in the sense of business, when I say my goal now is to make 500,000 in a month and not 5,000 in a month or 50,000 now, I know for me to get to 500,000, I have to have systems in place that's going to get me to that level, because I know that I can't do 500,000 doing the same thing I did to get 50,000. So to get 500,000, I have to learn new things. I have to figure out new things, because now if my goal was only to 50,000 and just replace my income and be happy, then it's like, cool, now my business is set. But again, business don't stay stagnant. Your business cannot plateau. You're either going down or you're going up. So set bigger goals. Everyone needs to 10x their goals. Whatever your goal is, multiply by 10. If your goal is to save 10,000, say you want to save 100,000. I don't know why you would be saving money, but inflation is ridiculous, but that's another conversation. It's just for the sake of the argument. So yeah, I agree 100% with everyone should be setting metric goals, and especially in the sense of business. Now, if we are talking about working out and stuff, cool, that setting an activity goals is understandable. I would understand that, because that's it's a little different, but in the sense it's the same. But it would be more understanding than it is with business.
No, I think I always had that mentality of activity over just, and that's with everything, to be honest. I think that's kind of who I am as a person. Like when it comes to like the podcast, when it comes to like the content that we post, I always have been the one person that set activity goals. Like I'm going to just make sure we get 3 posts out a week. I'm going to be the person that makes sure that I go to the gym 3 times a week. And or like when I would say read 10 pages a day, those are all activity goals in order to, but you never necessarily set I want to read 15 books this year and then backtrack from there. Yeah. But it's just it's a flip, especially when it comes to business, because it's more important that you establish that revenue goal to dictate your activity, because you like I said, you get that false sense of security that your activity is producing your results, when in reality it's not producing where your desired result is. Right. And that's my personal take on it, and that's my approach I'm taking moving forward as well.
Yeah, I think that's good, man. I think that's good. So I think that's a very valuable conversation for a lot of people to have. So, but yeah, we can transition to our next segment of the show. Unless you had something else that you want to add to it.
That's it for me.
Yeah. Cool. Well, then, our next segment then.
How can I be successful? How can I follow the path that someone else has laid for me to be successful?
Ask the Monopolizers.
So this is something, I think we've only done it once, but we do this segment now whenever we do our solo episodes for people to ask questions, because we get a lot of questions all the time. So we'd like to answer some of them on the podcast so that we can actually have other people benefit from them. So I guess, Marlon, you can start with whatever our first question is, and then we go for, I think we had two, we got a few, but we'll do 2 of them. And yeah, we'll go from there. So what's the first question?
Yep. So we answer questions. We answer for anybody who has questions. First of all, to go leave your questions like on our Instagram page. If y'all have any questions that y'all want to have us answer on the podcast, just leave it there, or you can go to our Money Monopolizers website and just like go to the contact us page and then contact us through there saying what your question is, and we'll try to get it on the podcast. But this question came on Instagram. It said, "What motivates y'all?" And that is going to lead me to understanding what your why is. For me, my why is time freedom. Understanding that being able to spend more time with my family. I think I told this story before, but my grandmother, me watching her grow up and always not grow up. Me watching her as she right. Me watching her when she was in the workforce. One thing that she always wanted was to be able to spend time with her husband in retirement. This is probably my biggest why that pushes me today. She always wanted to spend time with her husband in retirement. So I think she was like 54 around that age, and she said she was going to retire like in 10 years. Her husband was 62. He ended up dying at 62. For the next 10 years, she kept working, and then after that, she's in retirement now, but she doesn't have her husband to spend the time with now that she could have been spending for the previous 30 years. So that is like one of my biggest motivators, because I understand the value.
Because she had to work.
Yes, because she's spending 8 hours working for somebody else, 8 to 10 hours working for somebody else, come home, have to go ahead and like cook dinner and just get ready for the next day. So it's just a constant cycle. I can't take a one-way trip ticket to Europe or something just to go spend time with the people I love because I got to work for somebody else.
Yeah.
Especially as I get into my 40s, 50s, and 60s, these are time you can't get this time back, and you never know if tomorrow's even going to be promised for you. So it's very imperative that you build something where you can support your lifestyle that you desire, because most people are not going to pursue that lifestyle, and especially because they are too bent on like serving somebody else's dream, like working somebody else's business. So that's what's really one of my biggest motivators, is understanding that I desire time freedom so much to be able to spend time with my family.
Mm-hmm. That's good. I love that. I think that's very profound. Because I mean, mine's not as profound. I mean, for me, I think I'm a person that I hate losing more than I hate winning.
I hate winning, bro.
I hate losing more than I love winning.
For sure.
So one thing that I feel like me losing is working for someone else. So when I started working, when I was 21, I hated it. Not because I hated working for someone, but because I didn't have any control over anything. Like, not even just control over my life, that's obviously huge, but like, I didn't even control anything at my job. Mm-hmm. It's like I'm just doing what other people tell me to do, which is like awful to me, because it's just, at the end of the day, if we have no free reign over our life, then what is the purpose of continuing to live in that sense? Like, obviously I understand serving and other things, you do things for other people, yes, but that's because I want to do them for other people. Mm-hmm. Or I might have to do them for other people if I'm in a different kind of situation. I don't want to have to do things just because that's my only option. And a lot of people, that's why they work, because that's their only option. If you had another option, you would pursue that. But most people don't know and believe that they do have another option, which is financial freedom, because they just don't either know about it or they don't believe it's for them. So, I'm really motivated for that reason, and also just, man, I mean, I just know that, having financial freedom and having money and having, really, because I'm very competitive in everything I do, and I just want to be the best in everything I do. Like, that is something that really motivates me as well. Like, I just really want to be the best at everything. Like, I strive to have an A+ in every aspect of my life. Mm-hmm. Like, physically, in terms of like my physical health, spiritually, in terms of my relationship with God, mentally, in terms of, my intellect and my knowledge, financially, obviously, in terms of having financial freedom, and relationships with other people. I strive for all of that to be perfect, and that's really what motivates me, because again, it goes back to the fact that I don't want to lose in anything, and if anything is not perfect to me, I'm losing. And I strive for perfection. You might never get it, but I strive for it, and that fulfills me. That strive for perfection and for greatness. So I don't know, that is more so how I think of that, and that's really my motivating factor in everything that I do with the podcast and everything. It's because I don't do anything to be average at it. Do it to be the best at it. Every single thing I want to be the best at it. So
that definitely that hits home, because that's why we had to have these fights back playing 2K. That's why we had some controllers that were broken in the past. But hey, no, that's real though, because everybody has something different that drives them. But you got the most important thing for anybody who's listening is what drives you, because you can't be driven by what we're driven by. You have to identify that for yourself, and then let that be your fuel every time you go out and attack another day.
Yeah, I agree. So yes, that is, to answer your question, your boy Zach won. That is our answer. So our next question, we got one more.
Yep. I was, since you want to call out the we can, yeah, I think shout outs would be appropriate. I had a second question from just_J Walker. Which to fix first, your personal credit or your business credit? I would say it's always good to start at home base, start with personal. If you just answer for our unsolicited advice, we're not financial advisors anyway, by the way, so don't take this as financial advice. But I would start with personal credit, because you can leverage that to build up your business credit. That's just like when it comes like to personal guaranteeing loans and things like that. If people see that you are good personally, then they're going to have more trust in the business that you're in order to, like, we have a whole thing on that with just with us trying to like refinance one of our homes right now. If we have our personal credit established, we can help out our business. So I think it's very important that you build up your personal credit to help out your business in the long run.
Yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward in that sense, because unless your business has established profit and loss for the last 2 to 5 years, it doesn't even matter. Your business credit, I mean, there's tricks and ways around it, I think, where you can obviously, use trade lines and those kinds of things, and you can, do the Duns and Bradstreet and all that kind of stuff where, there's so much information out there about that. But generally speaking, I think you have more options if you work on your personal credit and then you leverage that to build your business credit. It's not to say you use your personal credit, but you work on it, you improve it, and leverage that to build your personal credit. Because at the end of the day, you got to understand, when people lend money, they're lending based on the fact that you are an entity or your business is an entity. In either way, there's an entity. So the entities are treated separately. So you as an individual have a social security number, and the credit that is tied to your social security number is an indicator of how well you can pay someone back. In the same way, your business has an employer identification number, an EIN number. That is an identifier to establish how well your business can pay people back. Pay people back. That's one of multiple things that the EIN does. So the most obvious entity that to work on first will be your personal entity, because that you have a lot more history on that. So because you have tax returns, because you have bank statements, because you have all that, you can use all that to benefit your business. Whenever you try to use your business, they're going to look back at your personal credit and say, well, because the business doesn't have any established history, we want to see what does the business owner, what is their ability to repay. So yeah, that is how we would answer that question. So yes, just_J Walker. Hope that is a answer to your question.
Yes, sir. So that's it for that segment. I think we can transition to one of our last segments, is the financial freedom action items.
We gave you the game. You can
Take it or leave it.
Financial freedom action items. So I think just out of this episode, one of the biggest takeaways is obviously going to be making sure that, the goals and the targets that you set, the objectives you set, are in regards to business, that they are revenue oriented, that they are based off of revenue, so that you can then take that and work back what you need to earn to actually establish that, and there's so many other. This is very high level, but if I say that my goal is to make $10,000 a month to myself, paying myself as the owner of this business, then I can set a certain goal based off of that revenue, as opposed to just saying this month, we want to do, X amount of activity, or we want to do, this amount of revenue without necessarily a reason. So if your goal is, if you built your business to be able to support you financially, then that needs to be the foundation of your goal, so that everything can fit around that, and you don't just fit that into your other goals.
Yes, sir. No, that's really good. I think I'm going to hit on this for a second. So we talked about owner's comp earlier today, and I want people to understand where that comes from. So I want y'all to, my financial freedom action item is to go get the book Profit First. That book is going to show you how we set up our business as far as how we allocate our funds that we bring in as revenue to pay for our owners compensation, like how we pay ourselves, how we pay our taxes, how the business profits, and then how we pay for all of our expenses. So that book right there is the foundation, and I think that is invaluable when it comes to this conversation that we had today, because you need to identify what is your owner's compensation that you desire, and let that number dictate your revenue goal for this month.
Yeah.
And without understanding where owner's comp is, you wouldn't be able to do all of that. So now you'll be able to see percentages and everything else along with it. That way you can backtrack to get your revenue goal for the month, and now you have more calculated actions as a result.
100%. So yeah, there y'all have it. Take it if you want. If you don't, it's on you.
This was a whole masterclass today. This should have a price tag attached to it, I believe. But y'all got it for the free.
Yes, sir. That is it for this episode of the Money Monopolizers podcast. New episodes will be released every Thursday and will be available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Just search Money Monopolizers wherever you listen to podcasts. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, we'd appreciate if you rated us 5 stars and left us a review on Apple Podcasts. You can also find out more info about us on IG at Money Monopolizer, or on Twitter at The Monopolizers. We post informative content on there that'll keep you engaged, so be sure to check that out and share those posts. But until then, we are out of here.
You've been listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. To learn more about how you can be in control of your money, visit moneymonopolizers.com. We'll catch you next time when Alex and Molly share more personal finance and wealth creation tips with you. Now it's time to take action.